Hello, you out there. What we had planned was actually a physical meeting in preparation of our study tour to Germany on the topic of bioenergy. Bioenergy is one of the topics that we handle in the framework of the Energy Solution Program of the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy. They fund and support this project, and we take part in it and wanted to fly to Germany in September with a group of Israeli stakeholders and decision makers. What happened was that a physical meeting was not possible. So we overcame it and said we'll do something else. And the advantage of this was that we were actually able to invite German participants to this meeting as well. And it turned out to be really interesting. And this is why we want to share it with you. So here we go.
I'm a project manager or kind of technical director of a small city in Midwestern Germany. And we started in replacing our fossil fuel systems by renewables 10 years ago right now. And just to give you an impression, I maybe switch to show you the video.
Here in Saerbeck, we've been carrying on the practice of community climate protection since 2008. Our goal is to achieve a balance in favor of renewable energy before 2030, so that we can then supply ourselves with energy. The first guiding concept was then called Saerbecker Sonnenseite, which means the sunny side of Saerbeck. In the meantime, over 10 megawatts of photovoltaic systems have been installed on the roofs of the buildings. Saerbecker Einsichten, which means Insights into Saerbeck, was our second project. It's a community project about two aspects. Firstly, it's about changing the energy supply to the sports center from a gas supply. In other words, from fossil energy to renewable energy. In this case, we installed pellet heating with a local heating network and discovered that we save energy, money, and carbon dioxide emissions with this project. At the same time, this should also be an example for the inhabitants of Saerbeck to reduce use of petroleum and natural gas. The idea was to install an energy theme park. It led to establishing an extracurricular learning center, the Saerbecker Energiewelten, which means Energy Worlds of Saerbeck, among with many other projects with schools and kindergartens in Saerbeck. This way we can demonstrate to schools how renewable energy works on the real object and on site in the energy park. The third leading project, which mainly defines us as a climate community, is the project Saerbecker Stoffströme, which means Material Flows of Saerbeck. This is our most important project. Biomass from the region is collected, and the material is then converted energetically. All this happens on site at the Bioenergy Park. Its performance is of 29 megawatts. Renewable energy provides around 250% of the entire power supply of Saerbeck, with a typical usage combination of wind energy plants, PV plants, and bioenergy plants. We founded Windpool Saerbeck in the Bioenergy Park, which merges 6 associates and operates 7 wind power stations in total. The aim was that every association can manage its own financing, but that the operational management and the service purchase is managed centrally and is therefore more cost-effective for all of us. In this context, we had the chance to purchase a former army depot. That's how this was created, this construction with the enormous carriers underneath. We were confident we were going to manage it, and in the end, we achieved it easily. Saerbeck has certainly become an example with this special approach towards an energy change from below. Several favorable factors came together in Saerbeck. I'm personally convinced that we have to make the energy change possible. I owe this to my children and also to the other younger generations. That has actually always been my basic thought. We will participate in the energy change. As project manager of the climate community, I'm especially proud of how we managed to entrench the topic in the population and the enthusiasm with which the people participated. There's nothing as self-evident in Saerbeck as the topic of local climate protection. And this is the best motivation to drive the topic forward in a sustainable and active way.
Okay, so that's the project we worked on within the last 10 years. And coming back to your conference of today, we have two biomass units in this bioenergy park. One of them is a so-called composting plant where we collect 45,000 tons of organic waste coming from the houses of our county, which is more than 400,000 inhabitants. And then this bioorganical waste is digested in big so-called dry digesters. And with this biogas, we produce electricity and heat. The heat is going back to the fermentation, the digesting process as process heat. Second step of this unit is after 1 week to inflate air and to have as output product compost soil, which is used as fertilizer for agricultural purposes or even in vineyards in Germany or where else. The second biomass unit is a biomass plant which uses corn silage and liquid manure coming from 17 farmers of the city of Saerbeck. And they founded a company together with a local biogas company in Saerbeck called Saergas, and they are producing biogas by digesting this liquid manure and corn silage. It's a so-called wet digesting process, as we call it, but they also produce heat by big CHP units, cogeneration plants, and electric power at the same time. Are there some questions?
45,000 organic waste per year.
Yes.
How many citizens, how many households are sharing, producing this amount of waste?
In our region, this is organized by the county, and the county is about 440,000 inhabitants. So they collect all the waste coming from these 440,000 inhabitants, which is 24 cities, bigger ones to very, very small rural cities throughout the county of where we are living in.
May I ask if there are some hours of the day when the grid cannot take the electricity from the electrical system? Is there any storage, energy storage capacity on the production?
Till now, we didn't have any problem with producing energy and delivering this energy to the German grid. But since 2 or 3 years, we are working on a research project concerning the storage of electric energy in the bioenergy park, together with the University of Applied Science and other companies from our state of North Westphalia. And the university is researching on 4 different kinds of storage technologies, trying to find out which might fit the best to the different input conditions we have coming from wind energy, sun energy, and our bioenergy plants, and referring to the energy supply and the energy demand and consumption in the city of Saerbeck, which is not only residential purposes, but also farming facilities and business companies.
Hi Guido, this is Joseph from ST Tech. I have a question for you regarding the biogas production, and especially the management of the digestate, you know, the byproduct. So do you have any problem issues with managing and especially spreading the digestate? Do you have any regulations that require you to store the digestate? Can you tell a bit more about that?
Oh, so we have to to look at the two different biomass plants. For example, the biomass plant of our farmers, they are part of the German electric energy market. So there's a capacity of 4 megawatts of power for the cogeneration units we have, and they produce biogas and store it in big bubbles. You've seen maybe in the video. And when there is a need in the German market of more energies, especially when the prices are high, they start the production at that time. So this is a kind of storing energy, if you want. The biomass plant of our composting unit is different. They're producing all year long because they need the heat for the process of digestion all the time, 24/7 if you want. So this is different between our two different biomass units in the bioenergy park.
Okay, thank you. My question was more on the digester, so the byproduct that comes out the biogas production. And we know, we have experienced that nitrogen levels in the digestate are very high and are usually regulated. You cannot spread it in rainy season, for instance, so it doesn't go into rivers and so on. And therefore, I wanted to know if you have that problem, that issue in your area, and if so, how do you deal with it?
We have a problem with bringing liquid manure in our fields, actually, and there's a problem of nitrate in terms of the quality of our groundwater and drinking water. That's right, there is an issue. But coming back to the biomass plant of our farmers, this is a liquid output product, if you want. And as we have 4 megawatt of capacity of our cogeneration units, there's much heat which is produced by producing electric power. And the farmers use this overcapacities of heat to dry this liquid output product. And this becomes a kind of solid fertilizer. And this fertilizer is used not for farming purposes in our region because we have this nitrate problem with our groundwater and drinking water, but this is a kind of new output product they sell throughout Germany.
We need the bottom line. To start a project like this of a digester, what is the normal ROI? Where the money came from? You can go with a system like this to the bank.
Okay, so maybe this is one big idea of our projects on renewable energies, that we wanted to make the residents, farmers and business people in Saerbeck become investors of our renewable energy projects. So that's why the biomass plant of the farmers is driven by local farmers. And these farmers, what I said before, we have 17 farmers, and 16 of them are coming from the city of Saerbeck. So this was very important for us to get local farmers involved in investing in renewable energies and earning money, so that they can harvest not only their biomass from their fields, but they can harvest bioenergy as well, if you want. This is very important in terms of economic situation of our farmers, especially in rural regions. And even all the investments, the other investments of the bioenergy park, which is 7 winter bins and this big solar park you've seen in the video, these investments have been done with local people. For example, this solar array is owned and has been invested by energy cooperative, which is 400 residents in Saerbeck, and they collected within a very short period of time more than 4.5 million euro to be invested in renewable energies. And the city council of Saerbeck decided about the investments in the bioenergy park, and finally the city council in Saerbeck decided to make the residents of Saerbeck become investors of this huge PV solar park you've seen in the video. So this is maybe one big idea which is behind all our projects on renewable energies we did in Saerbeck the last 10 years.
May I ask again about on the subject of financial background of such a project? I guess that during the last decade, the German government supported such renewable energy projects with money. Can you give us an overview what happens and what you think will happen in the coming 5 or 10 years?
This is called our renewable energy law, and this law ensures a certain feeding in tariff for renewable energies produced, which are delivered to the German grid for a period for 20 years. And this was much, much more money you could get from producing renewable energies than the energy price, let's say the median price of energy in the German grid. So this was a kind of governmental intention to increase renewable energies. I think they started this law in 2000 or 2002. Meanwhile, let's say the level of this feeding in tariffs decreased step by step. And now they are nearly approaching to market prices. That's the second part of the question. I think in the future, which might be in 3 to 5 years, there will be no longer such kind of special renewable energy law, because the energy prices, they are equaling out, if you want, coming very close to each other. And actually, even in Saerbeck, we are thinking about new business models, selling our energy directly to the neighborhood cities without profiting of this renewable energy law conditions any longer.
Elmar, maybe you introduce yourself now to the people that are here.
Yeah. So, my name is Elmar Thien. I'm from Wuppertaler Stadtwerke, which is the local utility for the city of Wuppertal. Wuppertal is about 50 times bigger than Saerbeck. It has 360,000 people living in the city, and we are the source of water, of electricity, gas, district heating, public transport. So we do have here the Schwebebahn suspension railway. And Wuppertal is a sister city, the first sister city connection ever between Germany and Israel with Beersheba since the 70s. So we here in Wuppertal have a different approach, because we don't have very much place for renewables. We do have some biogas, we do have some water, we do have a quite reasonable stream through the city, a little river, the Wupper. So we tried a different approach in selling green electricity. Our approach is that we try to connect the customer directly to the production site, and we do that via blockchain. So what did we develop? We do have a few, as I said, we do have one windmill here, just a very small 400 kilowatt windmill. Then we do have quite a lot of solar, some megawatts. We do have some water and some 100 kilowatts of biogas. So what did we introduce? We introduced a product called Talmarkt, and what happens in the moment our windmill or the solar power station is producing a kilowatt hour, this gets written into a block, and the customer orders directly from that power plant. So they don't order directly out of the grid, but they order directly from the producer. We get a different connection between producer and customer, and we are just an intermediate station, if you want to say so. We are in a way like eBay or like Amazon Warehouse. We are just the company who makes sure that all the fees are paid, that all the taxes are paid, that the renewable energy extra is paid, which has to be paid on electricity in Germany. And we call this the Valley Market Talmarkt, which is in the moment still a single shot worldwide. So there's no other commercial producer servicing such a product. But we see in a world where we are only in renewables, we see this as one possible way of first getting a connection between the producer and the customer. We do have a lot of problems in Germany with the social acceptance of new wind parks and even solar power stations in the open. So on the one side, we do something on the psychological side. The customer knows why there is a wind park needed. On the other side, we think that the old wholesale market, the feed-in tariff will, as my colleague Valraven explained, Guido explained, the feed-in tariff will die out, and then every producer of renewable energy will have quite a big problem, because they won't be able, if they don't have direct customer contact, they only can sell their renewable energy at a market where every other renewable source is pushing into that market, which will lead to negative prices in the worst case, especially for wind. So with our market model, where we say, okay, if you have a windmill, if you have a solar power station, put it into our market, we guarantee that you will have a customer. In that system, we give also a second chance for older renewable energy producers who go out of the market because the 20 years of feed-in tariffs are run out, or have run out, which will happen next year, actually. We are in the lucky situation as the city of Wuppertal that we also own the local waste management power plant. And the local waste management power plant has 40% of the energy is renewable per definition, because it's from biomass. And that's why we can guarantee our customers around the clock, 24/7, 365, energy security, so security of supply. That is the big advantage we do have. Otherwise, we would have to have more biogas or more water in the system. And due to the fact that we own our own waste management power plant, we don't have to do that. But we are absolutely open, and we already have contracts with private sellers, so with farmers who have their own windmill, or their solar panel, and so. The next step of the product is that at the eco farmer, you can not only buy your bread and your butter and your meat, but you will also be able to buy your electricity.
I would like to hear more about the thing about your waste management company, and also about your waste to energy concept.
Since about 8 years, we always had that or since 30 years we do have the waste management plant downtown in Wuppertal. As I said, a city of 360,000, which is producing electricity, roundabout electricity and heat for the district heating of about, let's say, 100 megawatts.
Close is it to the city?
It is within the city. It's in the middle of the city. It's if you look at a map, you will see it's like from the city center, it's like let's say 1.5 kilometers, but it's in another city center. In Germany, cities are usually, most cities are made up of different villages which merge together in the industrialization time, and that's why it's today in the inner city, and it has always been in the inner city. It's just we have a quite mountainous region, so it's on a hill. But that's and the smokestack is high enough so you can see all the way to Cologne or Düsseldorf from us, which is like Cologne is 50K away and Düsseldorf is like 25 kilometers away.
You are on the map now.
Yeah, you are on the map, and this is Wuppertal Institute, which is one of the most important German institutes for climate, environment, and energy. You go down south, that's our waste power plant. You can click on it, and you might even see a photo.
Great.
Yeah, so this is quite a big power plant. This is nothing small. We are not only caring of that's our waste power plant. And since the start of that power plant, since the beginning, we try to use the heat. So the first thing we did was having a swimming pool next to it, a public swimming pool. In that public swimming pool, you can swim even if it's snowing in winter, because the water is always 27 degrees, so it's like the Dead Sea pretty much. except it's not that salty. And this power plant, now we try to optimize. So on the one hand, we pulled out more district heating. On the second hand, we made it part of our new energy product, the Talmark, as I said, with the biomass which is used there. And if you go just under the tunnel, you will see that you are pretty much in the city, because you will have just urban residential areas behind the tunnel. Yeah, if you go up there, this is now still an industrial area, and up there you will see on the right and left housing. Okay, and and we tried to optimize the energy side, and we were able, with optimizing that power plant, to shut down a hard coal-fired power plant in the city, which has been around for 120 years. That was in 2018. We included it into the Talmark as a renewable source. There you see the stack of the power plant. No, you go back. You're driving onto the power plant area right now.
To see the picture.
Yeah, that's fine. And what else did we do? We also put in, and that will be in effect, I hope, in May, if Corona doesn't counteract that. Go to the right or left, it doesn't really matter. Or just take a look from top. Just take a look from via satellite picture so you can see. And we will have an electrolyzer. I don't know if I pronounce the English word correctly. So we will produce our own hydrogen there for the buses. We have a bus fleet. There you see the residential areas. We have a bus fleet of 300 publicly owned buses. We transport with our buses and the suspension railway around 90 million customers a year. And we are just in the moment building up a bus fleet based on hydrogen, which we will produce in the waste management power plant. In effect, I think in May 2020. The electrolyzer and in the filling station for the buses, we invest right now 6 million. It has a capacity to provide enough hydrogen for around 30 buses, which usually make like 300 kilometers per day on their route. And what we also have is, but we can get up. We are right now at a 1 megawatt peak, and we can get up to 2 megawatts with another invest, which will be like, I guess it's like 2 million, but we haven't had a cent tender out. So yeah, it is in the moment, it wouldn't, without any subsidies from the state, it wouldn't be economically wise to do it. With increasing CO2 prices and rebounding oil market, we will be on the OPEX side positive compared to diesel within the next year or so. While on the CapEx side, we will still need some research, but Germany is on its way with huge electrolyzers. So in the 10 and even 100 megawatt class. So we are hopefully we see there some price digression. With the hydrogen buses, we already saw lowering prices. The first bunch we bought for 650,000 euros per bus, which is almost three times as much as we pay for a normal diesel bus in the moment. Also, the buses were subsidized. With the next generation, which we are ordering right now, the next little fleet of 10 vehicles, we are down to like 520,000 because there's more competition in the market. In the first batch, we only had one company providing, but in the next batch, we'll see a lot more companies.
Thank you so much. It was very, very inspiring, both of you.
Very welcome, and greetings to Guido. Yeah. Have a nice one. Everybody have a nice one, and stay healthy, as we say in Germany.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
We love to get questions. We are here for you. The German-Israeli Chamber of Industry and Commerce is working and waiting for you. So just call or write us a mail.